Greetings, I am Lies and I use she, her.
And I am Scandal and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together!
Yes!
Welcome back for what might be the final episode? Ooh, we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah, we are, and we are back with Bill, actually, and the first time that you ever got to see them.
Yes! Honestly, the little heart in the eye is still very charming.
It is really cute. Nyargh, the fact that you trusted me enough to tell me your secret means a lot to me. I've always considered you a good friend, of course. But being with you today, learning more about you, made me realize how comfortable I feel around you. You're amazing, I think. Not many people can be as kind and considerate as you, especially when they're harboring such a difficult secret. So if I can be by your side more, and learn about you more, and be closer to you, I want to do it. I want to be your partner. Nyargh seems stunned at first.
Aw, it's super cute.
Then his tentacles reach forward in a flurry of movement. I love the little those flowers, it's so good.
It is.
They wind about me, encasing me in a gentle but firm warmth as he pulls me closer. Much closer.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You don't understand how happy you've made me.
From this proximity, his voice sounds so much deeper. Every time he exhales, his breath glasses against my skin, and I wrap my arms around his tentacles and embrace him.
The snuggles are real.
They are very real. I'm glad we're both happy. Even when I pull back, one of his tendrils lingers against me, as if wanting to maintain the contact. And upon close inspection, I can tell it's the one I'd been gripping during the eclipse. It still has a few dark marks right where my fingers had squeezed it.
Sorry.
I guess I got a little ahead of myself wanting to hold you. Nyargh chuckles, pressing the tentacle up against my cheek.
Just a little bit. But that's not a bad thing. I'm not used to such enthusiasm.
Actually, especially with me. Nyargh has always been comfortable to be around. His presence has always been soothing. I've always been aware of it since I just started delivering to his store. But here and now, it feels completely different. We share a secret, and we shared a very special moment together, beneath that darkened sky lit only by the ring of the eclipse.
Yeah.
Even if neither one of us truly believes in the auspicious powers of the eclipse, we can't help feeling like something special brought us together. It's all the more reason we want to be close to each other, to get to know each other more, to be with each other. It's so cute.
It's very cute.
Nyargh's body is warm, much warmer than I had anticipated. I noticed before that his tentacles are warm, of course. The flesh is sensitive in spots, throbbing beneath the touch of my fingers. Some are thicker than others, some are very sensitive, and some are frail, while others are strong enough to easily lift me off my feet. But all of them are perfectly gentle as they glide across my body, never letting me forget their presence. And I magically lost all my clothes, or I never had clothes?
As far as we know, Bill was only ever wearing a scarf.
Uh-huh.
Like, and the, like, basically, a cloak sometimes if it seemed like it was going to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically the pack for things and then an outer robe. So
which I think is actually really interesting, and this is just sort of teasing, like a thing sort of leveled at me and other people, right?
Okay.
Because this is me making fun of myself, where it really is, like, plenty of people who are like, okay, I appreciate y'all want to do monsters, I appreciate y'all want to do alien races. Fucking put them in clothes!
The thing is lots of naked people. On the other hand, in here, lots of naked people. And clothed ones. It's quite mixed. Ye still's nude.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Though part of it is also, like, that question of going, like, there's a question of, I think, for some people where they're like, why are they all so naked? Is going, like, isn't some of their skin, like, as sensitive, basically, as people's skin? So part of the reason, like, why we wear clothing
is to protect ourselves.
Is really actually genuinely to protect ourselves. It wasn't about any, as far as I know, really strong sense of, like, body shaming. Mm-hmm. There is some of that of going, like, you, like, in other cultures where it's not about shame, it's about basically going, I am now basically married or I'm engaged or it's a certain cycle of my life, I don't show parts of my body off to the general public, you know, kind of thing. Now, if I'm going swimming, sometimes I just don't care. You know, you just wear whatever.
But
Most people do.
in general, clothing around the world has been developed first around protecting yourself from whatever needs to be protected from, cold, heat, what have you.
Yeah.
And then after that, for fashion and culture and other such things.
Social mores, social norms.
First priority was protection. Now, in this world, there may not be the same kind of requirements in many ways, and Yeastel's life seems relatively limited now that he has the job he has.
But Yeastel's also a chitinous being, so his skin is much rougher, remember? Much thicker. He's got that
sturdier.
He's got much more to him, so if you don't... Chitin is what you find on bugs.
Yes.
So, and that would make sense, I think, in Yeastel's case, not to have anything, because almost all the other characters, it seems, that actually are fluffy, actually have clothing to some degree.
Breton?
Breton does not. He's like the exception to it.
We've
I'm
got
talking about Basil in...
The thing is that you need to know about this game is it's dating nude boys.
All of them are naked.
This is just...
So this is meeting in the nude. Which is literally meeting in the
This is actually meeting in the nude. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. I freaking love it. All of a sudden, took me 3 playthroughs to notice it, but there we go. It was so subtle, but here
meeting
it is.
in the nude. You can't stop the tentacles from showing.
The nudes from showing.
The nudes from showing.
Alright, anyway, this is a very cute, tender scene, and meeting in the nude.
Meeting in the nude. Letting me forget their presence. Even when one coils around my waist, lifting me up effortlessly, the tentacle's flesh is soft and careful. Nyargh treats me like something precious he would never want to break, even as he surrounds me. Not an inch of my body goes untouched, it feels like.
Cuddles. The maximum cuddle mode.
Maximum cuddles for all millennials. Not an inch of my body goes untouched, it feels like. Though the tentacles vary in size and function, all of them are dexterous, and they never stop roaming my body in search of unexplored places. Which I actually like. So I remember at one point, I keep asking how, and then I forget it, that it's actually in the story itself, that it's like, the tentacles actually all have specific things that they are more inclined to do what they are for, basically. But most people aren't aware of that because they're not either, one, as observant as Vil is, or obviously as close to Nyargh as Vil is. So it's
like there are hand tentacles, and then there are many others.
Yes.
And it's like...
like limb tentacles, basically. Things that, but also ones even I prefer to use these for because they're far more dexterous, you know, to manipulate small objects or whatever it is.
These are not as sensitive, so I use them to, you know, handle and wrap goods.
Or maybe like walk on.
That one. I would say, and I think that's very fun and interesting too. Honestly, I would be fascinated to explore Nyargh's composition more.
Absolutely. Unexplored places. The inside of my thigh, the underside of my rib cage, the deep furrows between the spines on my back, the spot at the bottom of my abdomen, the nape of my neck, the curve of my collarbones. They touch me in spots I'm not used to being touched, insistently making their presences known. It's almost unfair how Nyargh is able to do so much to me while I have a harder time doing the same.
Nyargh, I have been engaged. Immediately, slorp, you are consumed by snuggles. Vil, how to reciprocate?
How do I do?
Do I just wiggle gently?
He laughs when I tell him as much.
I like that Vil says something about it. It's really good to communicate about intimacy, like, for sure.
The tendril looped around my waist pulls me closer, until the very core of his body hangs close above my back. From this proximity, I can almost feel each breath and throb of his body. I can hear the slick of saliva each time he licks his lips, the rush of blood through the fine veins of his tentacles. I can see the way his body continues to flush darker. By the way, this is a mature game, and there's actually more mature scenes in this game, but we have the
are on the actually the safe mode?
Which even, okay, so the artist, Hal, he was like, I have to go in and make some edits because I think it's still a little bit too much.
Safe mode is still a bit mature. On the other hand, other people have done this on all the platforms, so we understand it to be safe.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's very different when you have verbalization versus visualization, which is an interesting thing that I have issues with in regards to like I don't know how to explain it. It's a complicated endeavor.
The thing is about this scene is, you know, it's all just tentacles and snuggling.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's very sensual snuggling, and it turns into sex. But here you are.
Rush of blood through fine veins of his tentacles. I can see the way his body continues to flush darker.
And you get a lot of like basically inhuman indications that other things are going on, which I think is neat because it's very clear what that's, you know, a placeholder for, as it were. But at the same time, that's not what people do.
Even as he says he doesn't mean to tease me, he continues to explore. A tentacle reaches up to touch against my temple, but very gently drags downward, brushing against my cheek. In some small act of revenge, I take it in my hands to wrestle some of that control away from him, because he's the only thing I have!
Because I want to touch back, and I'm not sure where to start.
What I grab, this is mine now.
Mine.
The tentacle squirms briefly in my grip, seemingly in protest, and I squeeze it gently with my fingertips. The flesh is warm and pliable, the muscle underneath undulating each time Nyargh breathes, and it twitches sharply when I press my lip to the tip. It's just a small kiss, brief and light. But Nyargh seems to want more. The tentacle stretches back towards my mouth when I pull it away. Like, oh, I get kisses.
Gentle smooches?
I get kisses? How could I not oblige? I kiss it again. And then once more. Each time, the tentacles around my body tense and throb. Nyargh, I get love. I get squishes.
It's so cute.
Yeah. Nyargh patiently endures the little kisses, but only for so long. Eventually, he gives an impatient wriggle against my palms. Another tentacle swoops in, gently winding around my arms, over my wrist, and through the gaps in my fingers, as if grasping my hand.
That thing where you weave your fingers together, but he doesn't have fingers. It's that.
Really cute. Honestly, I love though that. So I have to say, most of the time, whenever I have seen people with tentacle monsters, and I'm not going to tell you what context, but most of the time, there is none of that. There is no I'm holding your hand. There's no really like.
There's no petting, snuggling, cuddling, foreplay, anything.
Nope.
No exploring, no just affection. It's we have one goal. And it is to fill everything we can.
It is to find whatever has a hole and use
every opening shall be
Except I think it's also really funny because even lots of artists who engage in that, like, I've always been curious as to why it's like, oh look, it's the one area and that's all that matters. And I'm like, you know what, as a queer person, that gets really boring. Me specifically, me as a queer person. It's not fun.
Do something different once in a while.
I'm also like, there's so many other things, but you can't see the rest of it. Who the fuck cares?
Also, in the things that I've been exposed to, also, no context, there's very much an experience of it is not romantic or sensual or bonding or about two people together at all.
No.
It's really about an act. Which is okay and has its place, but I really like this. And as an incredibly demisexual person, if you don't have any connection and personality there, I literally get nothing from it.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, I understand, so we're not here to king shame. Like,
nope,
I totally understand people, like, if that's what you want, that's totally fine. I'm talking about my preferences. Yep, my preferences in regards to the fiction that I enjoy consuming, or the adult content, honestly, that I enjoy consuming. I do have a harder time basically accessing, and I've even had discussions with my friend about this pretty extensively, and other people, of going like, it's just hard for me to care when, one, at my age, with as much smut and porn and whatever else that I've seen my goddamn entire life, it all looks really samey past a point, and I have no connection to the characters. So it's like, okay, cool, I've seen that position, but what else is different? Do I know who this is? What are they specifically like? What is it specifically about?
What is the meaning?
And some people are just like, what it is all I did was the missionary position 300,000 times, and I'm like, okay, now I'm just tired. What? This doesn't mean anything to me. Like, honestly,
yeah. Scandal is tired.
I'm tired. As my gender. As if grasping my hand. When I obligingly let go, both tendrils wind around me in a warm embrace, tugging me ever closer. Fair enough. After so much time spent keeping his distance and keeping a secret, he's earned the right to be as close as he likes, I think.
Bill, you know what? This is fine.
Nyargh continues to explore, and I gladly welcome it, moving to allow him more and more access to myself. The soft flesh at the inside of my lips, the sensitive dip below my sternum, and the deepest, most intimate parts of my body. We get to experience them together.
Honestly, I do want Phil to touch Nyargh more. That is one of the only things that I would do. Like, I appreciate that, in general, Vil as a character doesn't feel like a very creative person. Not in any kind of bad way, just it doesn't feel like part of their personality. And so there's not a lot of, like, innovating things or trying to, like, make something new or artistic expression or anything like that in their life and their routine. And so it makes sense that they would be like, I'm, first of all, exposed to this very new body arrangement, even though all the monsters are different. This one's more different. And going, I don't know necessarily what to do with this. But I also would love it with okay, so you take the tentacle away, maybe I'll put my hands up on you. Maybe I'll put one of my hands in your mouth.
Oh, but the thing is what happened is, as Bill said, Nyargh actually wrapped around their arms, so they're sort of stuck. So it one of those things that I feel like so that has helped me access in regards to, as it were, tentacle-inclined characters, is largely that if you spend more time actually with the tentacle-inclined character, you come to really realize that what is, like, they're like, I am wrapped all the way around you, and that is us being touched.
That is
but
all
it's
the
very
context.
difficult to convey in basically like a picture, whether it's art or even if people have actually done, you know, like basically setups where, you know, it's pretending to have basically the monster, like I have this art piece I have constructed that I am involved in where it looks like a bunch of tentacles. It's very difficult, I think, sometimes to convey that, but I also just go, it doesn't look like the person usually in who's being touched and is touching simply by being touched, because that is, like I said, thing that's hard to convey. There's not as much like I'm as involved emotionally. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I get the feeling, like I said, where a lot of it just looks the same.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't have a huge amount of exposure to it, and I definitely don't have exposure to monsters with tentacles as people.
Yes.
Like, that's something, for me, that has been unique.
It is
to
newer,
this.
yes.
And I think it's really cool. But it's one of those things where it's like, I would, for myself, given that Vil is not new to this experience, and there's no emphasis on, this is the first time any of this has ever happened. Vil's clearly comfortable with what they're doing.
Which I appreciate!
It's
you have
really
to say,
neat. Like, in all the roots, it's very clear that Vil is familiar with their own body and with what they're doing. And there's none of that
first-time anxiety. Like, I actually really appreciate that. It's also really, like I said, it's just, there's also, okay, so everybody seems to also write first time in exactly the same way, of like, the character apparently has never explored themselves, the character has never even heard about this, the character has no ideas, and it's just tiring. I'm like, do you exist in society at all, or even your own society? You know, like in romance books sometimes, actually that's one of the biggest things I've always made fun of in the romance genre, and I'm talking about novels here, where I would just go and I would flip through and go, how early does the sex happen, and what happens in the scene? And a lot of them were extremely ones that I tended to just grab at random, because I really did. This was a random habit that I had of just going into like a library or a bookstore or whatever, picking it up and going, can I find the sex scene, the first sex scene, what does it look like? And then going, is it all interesting? Oh, no, it's a, oh god, I'm so overwhelmed, what do I do? I have no ideas, nothing.
He knows what he's doing, but I have no clue.
I'm stuck, and I'm just like, and it's all the same. But I really like this, because Vil really is just like, I'm comfortable. I want to do these things. I am like an adult who I feel comfortable about myself and my experience, and also at the same time I'm having fun exploring somebody I really don't know, because I don't know them.
And one of the things I think is really neat about this also, and about having a character that there's no emphasis on how new they are, is I haven't, specifically in visual novels, it tends to be a, this is my first relationship, or a, we don't talk about anything except that, you know, when we get there, this is new to me, kind of thing.
Well, you know, because that could be a threat to the current relationship if you ever think about it. I'm like...
And it's one of those things that I think is really valuable, to be like, you have a mature adult person who is familiar with their body and has made choices in their life and has explored and connected to people and is just doing so again in a time that they want to, in a way they want to. And you could also interpret it another way if you wanted to, but there's no demand from the author that this has to be a first time. And I think that's really nice.
Yeah. Stepping onto the streets after the eclipse is a surreal feeling. Overnight, it seems the city's reverted back to its usual self. People tromp about at leisurely paces, pause to greet each other, and ask how they are. The atmosphere is pleasant, but tranquil. Only traces of the eclipse remain. Stores that don't open their doors again because the owners left for other ventures. The remains of celebratory banners strung over some doorways, and abandoned honey liquor container here and there.
I love, actually, very much the whole thing of people making different choices and big, bold decisions they may have been putting off or they weren't sure how to choose, that they just went and did it. And it's like, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
Because they went and did something else with their life. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is actually really fun. It's impossible for anyone to forget the eclipse actually happened. Anyone who witnessed the way the skies went dark would surely remember it for a long time to come. We all have to move on. Of course, I resume my usual route the following day. My boss and I only have a few moments to talk about how our eclipses went. His went wonderfully, he says. And mine as well, I say. It's a simple answer, but that's all I really need to say. My route stays largely the same, regardless of the eclipse. Only the amount of salt varies slightly, and that's trivial. But there is one significant difference. Near the end of my route, I find my feet moving faster, and pace quickening. My claws kick off the dirt quickly, enough to leave small dust clouds in my wake. I need to brace myself hard to avoid skidding around a corner as I head down a familiar stretch of the street. Even from blocks away, a familiar scent greets me, as if welcoming me home. Nyargh's store. It becomes the highlight of my everyday. Getting to throw the door open and greet Nyargh, regardless of if he's requested delivery that day or not.
Yes.
And he always greets me with open tentacles, embracing me and holding me close. Like something he never wants to let go.
Which I think is so super cute.
He's so touching!
And I appreciate, like, that Bill just, moved in with him. It's really cute. I wish, if I could add one thing to that.
I wish it was longer.
No, one. The ending could be longer, which would be very charming. Honestly, a little bit more gushing about how nice the life is. Just because, fabulous cottagecore bee husband.
And also just being like, I can't wait to help him with the day. I greet the bees. Again, I'm like, I know it's about Nyargh, but it's
whatever
also like,
it is. Even I've learned to make tea the way he does, and I go back to prepare it. But what I also want, the thing that I want, is Vil mentioning that they relocated their alarm beetle to his house.
Which would be great. Because they had to save that beetle!
Mm-hmm. That's what I want. Like, it's the only thing that I was like, when this ended, like, there was a little bit of, wow, that was done all of a sudden, and I liked the ending. It was very sweet and nice. It could have gone on longer, but I was like, please, resolve the alarm beetle. I need to know.
I need a beetle, please.
I just need a mention of the beetle. And then life will be good. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this. I hope it was nice for all of you who made it this far. And if you aren't, if you are the type of person that wouldn't normally choose Nyargh's route, or if you know someone who might enjoy this approach to it that wouldn't normally, please do so. I think it's a really distinctive and unique way to approach it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think he is one of the warmest and most accessible monsters in there. Honestly, I mean, they're all good. All of them are good. But they're all very different. Mm-hmm. And for me, this one is one of the more warm, enthusiastic, romantic stories of the ones that are there. All of them involve connection, all of them involve relationship, but they all have very different flavors, which I appreciate. Mm-hmm. And Vil is consistently the same person, but it's very clear that the relationship dynamics work differently because you're with somebody else. And I really love this game. And I'm really looking forward to playing the next game by the same studio. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we know this is late, but it's okay. We still have not yet played it because we kept to it and we've had other obligations.
And because we've been waiting to play it with all of you. It is our plan to do it live on stream and then also make a playthrough that can be saved for later. Yes. And so we'll make different choices each time. We'll run after somebody different. It'll be amazing.
It'll be great! But again, it's also just going to be the demo. So again, if you haven't checked out Motya's Awakening, there are links in the description to both the demo for the game, and you can also check out both the artist and the writer, which is Hal and Miru, respectively.
And their studio.
Which is InkEthic Studios. They're a fantastic studio. Please support them if you can. Whether that's honestly sharing or liking the material, basically tickling the algorithm to go, please, these things, I like this thing.
Additionally,
other people should look at this thing.
If you want
also monetarily supporting them if you can. We've tried to do that once in a while when we can.
And it's really good. I would say also if you want another novel with a cool fantasy feel like this, Hal actually did one all on his own, CacoEthicArt, and it's called In the Gravewood, and it's not very long, and it's got a really cool map dynamic to it, and it's really interesting. It's got so much world building in a very short time without feeling overwhelmed.
Yes, it was really fascinating. Honestly, I was really touched by that one, and there was lots of things that I liked about it that I wish that there had been more in a certain regard, but yeah.
In one way, it felt like basically a small side story to a bigger world, which I think is really cool, and in another way, it felt very complete all on its own.
And I apologize, Miru, I don't really have any of your direct contact.
I don't remember the name of your cute game with the dog, but we haven't played it yet,
that's why I'm like,
so I can't recommend it the same.
We've directly been like, this is the thing that Miru did, but you should check it out anyway.
Yes.
Because honestly, Miru being the main writer, I think you get a pretty good idea of what Miru writes like. Also, again, I understand errors, but it's okay. This was an early game, and I also support them for being like, you know what, fuck it, let's just move on.
And that is great, because I want to see more content from them.
It would be I would rather see new things. Fuck it. It's good enough. All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. Like I said, please feel free to support InkEthic Studios. There are links in the description. There's also our links as well. Please feel free to check them out, and we will see you next time, hopefully, actually, for Motya Awakening, though we do actually have a paid game
that we're doing right after it.
Ah!
We'll be playing...
I forgot.
What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, right, that's true. God,
Somebody sponsored it and we're so excited to play it.
Yes, and I am really hopeful that it will actually work on the computer. Fingers crossed. We haven't tried it yet, so...
It's easier to play a game than to stream a game, so we're hopeful.
Yes! Alright. Yes. Alright, so thank you very much, everybody. I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies. And it was great playing with you. Bye!